Hello everybody and welcome to the War Room. This one is for this weekend's UFC main event between Jared Cannonier and Kelvin Gastelum. Okay, so this is a great main event. What a scrap this should be. Two guys that are very skilled, very talented. Kelvin Gastelum, we know the position that he sits within the middleweight division and how competitive he is with the best guys in the sport. Jared Cannonier still, in my opinion, is a bit of an unknown commodity as a middleweight. He started his career as a heavyweight in the UFC and came down through light heavyweight and fought some of the the toughest guys in the sport, including Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz. Now he's at middleweight. You can just tell this is the right weight class for him. He's the right height, the right weight. He's got the right amount of muscle mass. He's very lean. He's very efficient. He's very powerful. So really, even if we look back to his light heavyweight and his heavyweight career, there are some things that stood out. Light heavyweight was definitely not the right place for him because he's fighting big guys who are fast. At heavyweight, he was a bigger dude, but he was also much faster than his opponent, so it worked well for him. Now he's at middleweight, he's both fast and he's fighting guys that are a similar size, but the majority of them can't hang with his power. I think there's a value in someone's, I'm saying not a value. I don't think it's worth gaining a load of weight for this purpose, but I think if ever we see someone fighting at a heavier weight class and then they start moving down, it's almost like they've been training for a number of years with a weighted vest on. Sometimes they're, if they're able to stay healthy and their speed and their technique and everything transfers down, then they have this power that is, it looks like it's from a different weight class. I think that's what we see with Jared Cannonier. If you think back to the shot that knocked out Jack Hermansson, while Jack Hermansson level changing, trying to take him down, that was a real short range uppercut. Jack Hermansson's a tough individual and he just couldn't come back from that shot. So although obviously we know Kelvin Gastelum's got power, I do think that the power advantage just generally across his skill set is on the side of Cannonier. I think Gastelum's a slightly more educated striker, but probably only with his boxing. So just let's stick a pin in that. Let me just quick go through the stats. So obviously Jared Cannonier, 13-5 overall, but what is he? 3-1 as a middleweight. So he's got stoppage over David Branch, the leg injury against Anderson Silva, which was from a kick. We can't discount the technique because it was an injury. It was a low kick that did it. And then the finish over Jack Hermansson, which was an uppercut on a takedown attempt and then ground and pound to finish. The fight against Rob Whittaker, first of all, I don't think he looked comfortable in the fight, and second of all, I don't think he could quite understand Whittaker's approach. Whittaker's got a very diverse skill set, but the way he couples up his striking was really problematic for Cannonier. And the thing that really did damage in that fight was the right high kick of Rob Whittaker, because Whittaker was throwing his right hand and then following it with the right kick, and because Cannonier was slipping to the outside of the cross, he was slipping onto the kick. That's not an option that Kelvin Gastelum's got. The vulnerability of slipping onto shots is still there, but if you're slipping onto a shot of Kelvin Gastelum, it's most likely to be a punch. And I don't think that's going to be as damaging to Cannonier as one of Whittaker's kicks. So it's going to be more difficult for Gastelum to hurt Cannonier. I think there's a smart approach for both of these guys. I think if I'm Kelvin Gastelum, my smart approach is to kind of do similar to what he did against Ian Heinisch. When he can, level change, take him down, ground him, force him to work, beat him up on the floor, control him there as much as possible. I think Jared Cannonier is going to be very difficult to hold down. I think Gastelum is going to be able to take him down, but to control him on the floor might take a couple of rounds of work. That's dependent on how confident Gastelum is of his conditioning. Gastelum's on a bit of a slide at the moment. And I know he pulled that one back against Ian Heinisch to break his losing streak, but if we remove that one, he's lost 4 in a row. The Ian Heinisch fight, it was a good performance. It was over 3 rounds. It wasn't against one of the highest ranked guys. So then, if you compare that to the losses on his record, Adesanya, Till, Hermansson, and Whittaker, where do you put Gastelum that group? Do you put him kind of somewhere in the middle of that group of losses? Because that means that the level that Gastelum is going to be fighting at will probably be higher than the Ian Heinisch fight. I think the game plan is similar to the Heinisch fight, but I think the effort that it would take to employ that game plan is going to be far greater. On the flip side, with Cannonier, the first thing that stands out to me is that he can fight out of both stances. Gastelum's always limited to southpaw. So as limited as he is to boxing, because he's not got a great kicking game, he's also limited to southpaw, where Cannonier can punch as well as kick, and he can fight out of southpaw and orthodox. And across his career as middleweight, we've seen him switching his stance to use different techniques, but to open up different targets for his kicking game. He's got a very, very good low kick game. He's got a great front kick to the midsection game. He's also got very fast kicks, powerful kicks. And because Gastelum's got to work his way into boxing range to land, and he's not got a great deal to cover that distance as he's moving in, that means that he's going to be vulnerable, especially that lead leg. If you're Cannonier and you know Gastelum's coming in as a southpaw, so if I'm Cannonier for this moment, I'm going to select to be a southpaw if I want to use my teep to the lead, my teep off the lead leg to the stomach, my powerful outside low kick or calf kick, or a switch lead kick to the body. They're my techniques off that side. If I'm switching to orthodox to fight a southpaw, that changes my options. That gives me a power kick to the body. Even if it's landing on the arms, it's going to do damage. It would also nullify Kelvin Gastelum's power punch. There's also the vulnerability of the inside leg. He can use that power kick to the inside leg, but it does to an extent limit what he can do off his left. But the value of having both sides is that you don't have that limitation. Cannonier can switch depending on which kick he wants to use, which target he wants to focus on. Gastelum's still going to have the same game plan. He's still got to get himself into punching range in a southpaw stance, and he's got to land better hands. He's got to land a higher volume of hands as well. And I don't really think he wants to be trading power with Cannonier. Like I said, I do think Gastelum's got the power to hurt Cannonier, but I do think he's going to have to set his punch up and he's going to have to time it well. I think the most likely route for Gastelum to win this one is to utilize his wrestling, to get Cannonier perhaps chasing him, overextending, or perhaps backed up against the fence where Gastelum can shoot into the fence and take him down. I think investing maybe 5 or 10 minutes in that game will allow Gastelum to start evening the odds on the feet and maybe be able to walk his opponent down a bit easier. I also think there's a possibility of him being able to, do enough damage to Cannonier on the floor, maybe even get him to turn his back and work a submission. I do think Cannonier is going to be difficult to hold down though. Let's have a look at the matchup on stats, and I'll have a sip of tea. So slightly longer fight time for Gastelum, but as you would imagine, because, obviously his record 17-7, he's had more time at the top of the tree. Cannonier's working his way up. He's just finding his feet in main event situations. Gastelum's been in main event situations. So the experience, the length of time that he's been in there, that additional 4 minutes, four and a bit minutes for Kelvin Gastelum translates to a lot of rounds over a career, a lot of experience in the octagon. Gastelum is very small for this weight class, and there's no doubt about that. Really, he should probably be a welterweight. Cannonier is coming down from heavyweight. He's still only 5'11", but he has a 6-inch reach advantage compared to Gastelum, who's 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. And that's a big disadvantage, especially if you're fighting someone like Cannonier who can switch stances. Not only are they using both sides of their game in different ways, but they're also utilizing their reach in different ways as well. Again, it further railroads Gastelum into doing one particular thing, which is close him down, land boxing, get his hands on him and take him to the floor. As far as the rest of their stats, so strikes landed per minute is pretty much the same. Cannonier with a tiny advantage, more accurate by 10% with his striking, slightly higher striking defense as well. That'll be tested by Gastelum because he's going to be throwing a high volume of strikes, and knowing that he has to be in boxing range to win means he's going to have to be working while he's in boxing range, otherwise he can't stay there. So I expect Gastelum to be the one trying to set the pace in this one. I think that's the smart thing for him to do. Takedown average per 15 minutes. Obviously, Cannonier is not really taking people down. He's not really interested in it. Kelvin Gastelum, at least a takedown per 15 minutes. Takedown accuracy is not great, but again, that's not the main focus here. It's to make him work. And with a 54% takedown defense, half of the time Cannonier is going to be able to keep this on the feet. Half the time he's going to have to work back to his feet, which is a benefit for Gastelum. Beat him up, wear him out, potentially choke him out. There are options that Gastelum can open up to himself as long as he's in the right range to do it. If he's standing on the outside, he's dealing with power kicks from Cannonier, he's risking his lead leg, he's risking getting caught with something that he can't counter because he's got a 6-inch disadvantage in reach. And that's only taking into account the arms. I would also say the speed at which Cannonier moves with his legs is a problem for Gastelum as well, because Gastelum's got fast hands. It's one of the benefits in moving up a weight class and being slightly smaller. But although Cannonier's coming down from heavyweight, he's still very, very quick. And like I said, if you're doing box jumps with a 30-kilo weight vest, and then you take that weight vest off after doing 10 or 15 reps with it, you feel like you can jump through the roof. And it is a bit of a psychological trick, but you are also preloading the muscles with heavier weight, so they're overcompensating when the weight's not there. Now that in a training sense is a micro scale of what we're seeing with Jared Cannonier's career. So he's won a weight vest of, what was he weighing in? 230 pounds. So he's wearing a weight vest of maybe 60 or 70 pounds when he's at heavyweight, and he has been for years, which means that every strike is thrown, every takedown is defended, everything he's done has been with that additional weight vest on it. And then in a fairly short period of time, he brought his weight all the way down to middleweight. So he's, his body's still overcompensating for being a heavyweight. And I think that's one of the reasons why he is so powerful, because he learned to generate knockout power as a heavyweight, and then he lost all the extra weight that made him a heavyweight. I think that's one of the things that makes him so terrifying. People often underestimate Gastelum, and it's his wit and his intelligence that usually get him through a lot of his problems. He can do that again here with Cannonier, but he's going to have to work hard for it. He's going to have to work hard for it. He's going to have to wrestle. He's going to have to close distance. He's going to have a tight defense, because Jared Cannonier, anything he throws could potentially knock him out. But if we're putting this on a tipping point, for me, it's Gastelum leaning on his wrestling and Cannonier trying to keep it at range, switching his stance and lighting Gastelum up with kicks at long range. There's no doubt Gastelum's going to try and close him down. So you've got to invest in something at long range to try and keep him there. And the more damage you can do when Gastelum's trying to move through that space between them, the better it is for Cannonier. Should be a great fight. Enjoy this one. I'll see you next time.